I'm Scott Powell, and I was born in South Carolina, but really most of my formative years were in New Jersey, Delaware Valley.
And I'm Leslie Powell, also from New Jersey, lived for 21 years in the same home with my parents, came to know the Lord early as a child, had a great family background, heritage, parents and grandparents that prayed for missions.
We were getting to know each other for a year or two. She was scheduled for a short-term mission trip to Haiti. And when Leslie got back the next day, I called up on a Friday evening and we went out for a date, and the first stop at the mall was into a jewelry store. Hadn't even talked to her much about things.
I didn't know where he stood. Are we going to get engaged or not? Is he serious or not? And all of a sudden we walk through Sears. This is Morristown Mall in New Jersey. Walk through Sears and there's a jewelry store off to the right, and he grabs my hand and says, "Okay, we're going to go diamond shopping." And I said, "What?"
I was a little bit presumptuous, I guess, but God saw us through all that. And
the next day we went into Philadelphia to Jewelers Row, and we actually picked out a diamond and got engaged that night. We got married in our home church, which is also the church that commissioned us 5 years later. We have 4 children. Our oldest 2, Trevor and Amy, were both born here in the States before we went to Taiwan, and then Daniel and Allison were both born in Taiwan. We tell people we have 2 made in Taiwan.
We began our service in Taiwan learning a new language. That was always a big challenge. But after just 2 years, God led us into a city where there were very few churches. And that was where we devoted our lives for the next 15 years and saw God do amazing things. We were part of a team, and as we did a lot of building bridges in the community, English classes and games with kids and just a lot of activities, and our kids were a bridge to others there. We saw God draw people to us, and one by one, almost without exception, they were the first believer in their families. And so a new generation of faith rising up. Beginning of 2010, one night we got some news that was to shape our lives and really change things for us on this side of heaven.
We got a phone call at 11 o'clock this Thursday night, and it was our daughter Amy's pastor, she was in North Carolina teaching, and it was her pastor calling to tell us that she had been in an accident. Amy was in a trauma unit in Charlotte, North Carolina, and things didn't look good as the night progressed.
So we immediately made plans to repack and to hasten our way back.
But we knew before we got on the plane that Amy had gone to be with the Lord. Remember getting on the plane with Scott, and I think the 3 of us just sat there and wept, but the Lord brought to mind 1 Corinthians 2:9. The verse was, "No eye has seen, no ear has heard, no mind can conceive what God has prepared for those who love him." And it was just a reminder to me. God was saying, it's okay, Amy's with me, I've got her taken care of. And there were weeks of deep grief, but also at the same time just finding comfort in the Lord, knowing that she was with him. I guess I'd spoken at a women's retreat one spring, a year following Amy's death, and had shared a lot of our story through that and things God was teaching me. And she came to me and she said, "Never stop telling your story." She said, "We need to hear it. We need to hear your story. We need to hear what God has done." And that was an encouragement to me, because I think sometimes, oh, should I tell people or not? Do they want to hear this? And she said, "No, we need to hear." And I think the thing that we have found as we share our story is that we all walk with grief to one extent or another. And we have met so many people who have lost a child because we have lost a child. And there's a quiet group of grieving people who the Lord allows us to minister to because of that common bond.
I think the promises of God are there for us no matter what hits us. And his steadfast love never ceases. And as Leslie said, we are not shaken as we abide in him. And I think we knew those things before, but having lived through that now, it's become personal. And it's our very survival spiritually to cling to him in those times and find his everlasting arm sufficient to hold us through even the most unexpected things that strike.